Well, the crowd here is still large, is still loud, but a little bit more subdued. And the word that I keep hearing, it must be some new phrase that has entered the lexicon, is the idea that people here are nauseously optimistic, not just cautiously optimistic, but nauseously optimistic.
Jen, has the conversation begun yet about Joe Biden and about the decision to ask him to step aside?
It will begin. It will begin depending on the outcome. Sure. And obviously, there hasn't been a race called yet. If this is not a Harris win, that will certainly be part of the discussion. It is. She's run a campaign over the course of 107 days. That is not something we've seen in history. And there'll be lots of questions about exactly that, the timing and the impact of that.
Well, Chuck was bringing up the history. I mean, in terms of vice presidents trying to win the presidency with a unpopular president, he said it's bordering on politically impossible.
And this gets
look, this is a miss because this looks exactly the way Iowa looked 4 years ago. You know, we're in margin of error range there. So look, she'd found something with
the pollster that we're talking about, yeah.
Independent women looking like they were choosing, and certainly we've seen some evidence of it in national polls, a point or two here or there. And look, I've seen it throughout the Midwest. But it's a point here or a point there. I don't know if it's enough to make up for the loss of voters of color that have cleared. I mean, that continues to me to be the big story of the night, is the shift among Hispanics. Look, Hispanic voters are swing voters, and I think, you know, what's interesting here is the Republican Party treated them the same way they treated white working class voters. They courted them the same way they treated white working class voters. The Democratic Party has spent a lot of time treating it as an identity group, you know, and you know, whether it's Latinx, which sort of fell flat, and so there's been a lot of hand wringing about this inside Democratic circles, a real split. Like, you know, it was a total misread, sort of by the coastal strategists, when it comes to how to target working class voters of color. And I think we're starting to see sort of a working class coalition start to drift to the right. You know, before, Donald Trump had working class whites. Now he's adding working class Hispanics and working class, not necessarily seeing evidence of working class African Americans, but adding working class Hispanics. That becomes a very durable majority.
Well, another way of saying that is the education gap.
Well, it's the same thing.
College educated or non-college educated.
It doesn't matter your ethnicity. It matters your education.
Right. But is it Donald Trump or is it the Republican Party?
Or is it the Democratic Party? Okay, meaning, like, I don't, you know, it's the Democrat. It is, first of all, Latino voters in many ways are driven by the same issues. And there's one issue in particular, actually, that Republicans align closer with Latino voters, or Latino voters align more closely with the Conservative Party, and that's school choice. And that has been, and you can't help but wonder, both Florida and Texas have been very aggressive about expanding school choice. Where have Republicans made the greatest gains among Hispanic voters? Florida and Texas. So education, the economy, those issues, bread and butter issues, and that is how they talk to them. I'm not saying Democrats weren't, but for the sort of the cultural issues don't play as well with Hispanic voters as they may with college-educated whites or even African Americans.